Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon. And I am back with my end of year writing vlog. And I know it seems odd that this would be the end of your writing vlog because there's still more than a week left, but I am going to be taking next week off. So there will be no update next week, which is why we're doing this now. What I wanted to do in this vlog is bring you up to date on where things stand with my three major goals for writing this year. And it's been kind of a mixed bag, but I think I've done pretty well on all of them. My aim with setting goals was to aim high, to be very ambitious in how I set goals and how I was going to measure them. And when I set goals at the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure I was aiming high enough. Now that we've reached the end of the year, I can see that I think I was aiming pretty well, to be honest. My three goals for this year were to finish the Triad World novels. And while this vlog is going to be going up before the final chapter is posted, I will be posting that on the 23rd, and that will end that series of novels. And it does feel really nice to have that under my belt. My first major web fiction project was the Project Sumter stories, which I actually don't recommend you go back and read. Looking back on them, they're not very good writing. They're kind of on shaky ground as plots. The character writing is okay, but thematically, I don't think they held together as well as I would have liked either. So there's a lot there. I'm not sad that they're available. I don't intend to take them down. But I also don't think I will ever go back and clean them up for publication, unlike some other things I've done. So having this series done, even though I never intended it as a series, does feel good because it is proof that I can do a larger project. After Project Sumter, I never really did have any clear intentions of tackling a big project like that. Again, I didn't really start this project with that goal in mind. And it is nice to know that if I really drill down on it, I can complete that kind of project. So all in all, I'm very glad to have that done, and I give myself full marks on meeting that goal this year. My next goal was to complete and publish on Amazon the novella, well, originally a novella, Burning Bright. And that goal went off course for a number of reasons. As it is, I have a manuscript almost all the way edited and ready for a final set of proofreading. I've had on the back burner for a while one scene that I intended to rewrite, and it just kind of dropped through the cracks, and other obligations have kept me from ever finding the time to focus in on that. My hope is over the new year to get that done and have it ready to send out to other people for one last round of editing and feedback. That is coming along pretty well because I do have it almost in its final form. I've hired an editor to give me some feedback on that, and I have that feedback. That's part of the final draft that I've done. In fact, it's one of the things that inspired me to rewrite this scene. I think the scene as it was before was always a little shaky, but the feedback I got and the number of changes that were little details that were proposed as tweaked just convinced me. I think that I really needed a new scene to finalize that part of the story. So all in all, I got about halfway there. I do have completed cover art. You saw a rough draft or a low quality image because that was just a JPEG of that in my last vlog. So you can go back and look at that if you're interested in what it looks like. And a lot of those other small details are pretty much knocked out. Hopefully, once I get the last round of feedback on the manuscript, all that will really be left is putting together a document that is properly formatted for the EPUB. So maybe sometime around February that will be done. Fingers crossed. My third goal was to write a series of nonfiction essays on the topic of collaboration. I've already talked about why I haven't gone too deeply into that. I have recorded one or two videos on the subject, and I think they're pretty pretty decent. They're a start on formulating the different ideas that have been bouncing around in my head. But the more I worked on it, the more I felt like just my writing on the topic would not be sufficient to really tackle it from all aspects. And I thought about asking other people who I have already collaborated with to give me some thoughts, and I guess just working out everything I want to do there took a lot more time than I thought it would, and it left me feeling a little shakier about what I had to say than I was when I started out. And while I never intended to offer myself as a definitive authority on the subject of collaboration, I came away from it feeling less and less qualified to put out my own thoughts on the subject, other than as reflections. Offering advice, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Reflecting on my experiences, maybe I will ultimately do something like that. But offering advice, I don't know. There is always a certain degree of imposter syndrome. You feel weird giving advice on topics like that. So I don't know how that is going to develop, if it's going to develop. But that goal is mostly unfulfilled. So I'd say about 1.5, maybe 1 2/3 of my goals for the year got done. And that's not great, call it 70% of your goals for the year, not even quite a passing grade. So I know real life is not a pass-fail system, and everything you achieve is important. So I'm hanging on to that. I'm keeping it under my hat. But it has been interesting this year having these goals in mind and pushing towards them for the whole year did make it easier to focus on them and not get too distracted by other projects. To a certain extent, other projects have come in and distracted me from these goals, however. Specifically, the opportunity to enter some writing contests and hopefully garner myself a slightly larger audience did kind of draw me away from these basic major goals. And I don't think it's bad to be flexible like that. After all, as I harp on often, it is important to build an audience as you tell stories. And if I can do that, and then that audience can give me good feedback, I think that is just as beneficial as working towards self-set goals. Maybe more so. Almost definitely more so, I would say. So there is kind of a cost benefit there that I have to consider. Many of the contests that I've entered either did not exist, or at least I wasn't aware existed at the beginning of the year. So that will definitely be something to consider as I set my goals for next year. But I'm not going to do that in this video. That will be my first vlog of 2023. So tune in 2 weeks if you're interested in hearing about those goals. For now, that's all I have for you this week. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. There's a like button and a subscribe button down there. You can use those as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.